Welcome back, Bravehearts. I'm the Doc of Detox, and this is DocStar TV. And today we're with Oliver, like I said I would be. And we are here about, and here we go. Here he goes again. We're here talking about the world's most powerful mushroom when it comes to the immune system. Okay? You will not find a more powerful mushroom, okay, for the immune system on this planet that I know of, okay? And if you can find it, you let me know and then we'll carry it, okay? But I will tell you right now, we're the only ones carrying thundershrooms outside of Asia. And also, when you see the research and all the scientists and the science that has been put behind this mushroom, and where does it come from? Well, it comes up in the mountains, it grows on trees, it's 30 to 90 years old, these mushrooms, not 6 weeks and cultivated in a lab. What do you think, Oliver?
Yes, that's definitely the most powerful way to get them. So I'm very happy to be back with you, Daryl. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, my friend.
Yeah. So I think last time we had a really good introduction, and it was a great opportunity for me to introduce the mushrooms again. Now that you have them, and I found an interesting fact in the meanwhile is that they do have a cousin of this mushroom that actually grows wild in Mexico, not far from where you are. So I wonder maybe one day there's going to be someone to embrace the knowledge that we've harnessed in Asia and do some type of local research as well. But the field of mushroom study is really just now taking off. So I think that you might see a lot more interest near in your area, and you'll have been a pioneer. So that's exciting.
Oh, now did you say that what mushroom is in our area?
Like a cousin, a species that's a cousin of the one that's inside. So
And
thundershrooms, the species itself is Phellinus mushroom, Phellinus.
and did it
And
also climb a tree?
the one in Mexico, yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's a smaller tree, and it's a smaller mushroom. And that's, the fact that they grow on trees, because most of us know mushrooms to be, well, maybe sometimes growing on food, bread, moldy bread, but we see mushrooms usually on the ground. And it's, the place that a mushroom grows says a lot about the characteristics of the mushroom. So, we've mentioned a few times now that the mushroom grows on a tree, and it grows in a way that acts like a friend to the tree. So we can see when a tree-borne mushroom exists, its role is to act as a garbage man for the tree. So what it does is it fixes its roots into the soil where the tree is also there, and it breaks down nutrients from decomposing things. And
wait. The mushroom is, okay, rooted into the tree.
right, so all mushrooms,
But but it doesn't root itself down into the soil, the mushroom. That would be a long root.
so there's beneath the mushroom that we can see with our eyes, which is called the fruiting body. Now that's the
Right.
part of the mushroom that we make the thundershrooms with. So that's like
Right.
the fruit of a cherry. But beneath that, it has roots, which are called mycelium, and they go all the way into the soil, intertwined with the tree, and they work together to bring nutrients to the tree. So the tree gives it a home, and in return, the mushroom does some type of nutrient digestion for the tree. So mushrooms have a really special place in the natural order. They're not plants and they're not animals, but they don't make their food from sunlight. So they actually make their food from other things that are, lying on the earth, and they decompose things. That's why they grow on old food, is because they are basically doing their job as nature's recycler. So when we have this powerful mushroom that's working together with a powerful tree, and in the case of thundershrooms, the species of mushroom is growing on the most powerful medicinal trees. So we're talking the elm tree and the willow tree, from where there's a lot of medicines made, especially in Eastern medicine, from these trees, from their bark and their leaves. It's no surprise why we see the most powerful thundershrooms are living on these very medicinal trees.
Right.
So they really get their power straight from nature, and in a way, it's the highest frequency tree that brings it the highest frequency mushroom, and that's what allows such powerful compounds to naturally occur inside the mushroom. And last point on the tree thing is, don't forget, they're sitting on the side of a tree in Asia, which is being blasted with sunlight non-stop. So they develop a very strong chemical composition, which allows them to stand in the sun all their life. And so you'll see one of the side effects of the mushroom when you take thundershrooms is you almost start to build up your natural in like inherent sun resistance, sunlight, sunblock. So our body already has a way to, I mean, you might not think it given how much we see like sun creams advertised and nonstop everywhere you go. If you go to the beach anywhere in the world, you'll see nonstop sun lotion. But what did we do before someone invented all these creams, right? Obviously humans, we didn't hide from the sun because we didn't have indoor living. So our body's very capable of handling, moderate UV exposure, and that protection is already inside us. So the same way that we have our own inbuilt protection, the mushroom is able to protect itself from the sun all day long. It's in the sun on the side of a tree up to 90 years before we harvest it. So the protection mechanisms it's developed are the same things that when we ingest them, as in the form of thundershrooms, they have a similar protective method with us as well. So yeah, it's interesting to see that because they're from a tree, they're made from stronger stuff than if they were from the soil or from sort of rotting stuff.
Wonderful. And you know what? It's actually a fact, that if you do the thundershrooms, and even putting C60 on your face and drinking C60, those two things, yeah, you've got an armor, okay, that will give you that protection out in the sun. And then we know about all the sun creams like you were talking about, but they actually cause the problem they're supposed to not create. But isn't that the way? I mean, everything, if we're awake, we know has been a lie, but then we get to figure it out, and it's just like a game, that's all. The game of life, isn't it, Oliver?
The thing that's really, I think, hard to really balance out is the fact that not most, we are all born with these mechanisms. We are born, we shouldn't need to take C60 to put on our face, just to protect it. We shouldn't need to have the mushroom at a young age, but the way that we live now has just completely outpaced the evolution of our innate systems, right? So we have to catch up, and that's why we do things. We go for the highest impact things with the
I don't
highest
know if
impact
we're not going to catch up. We just need to catch the predators, Oliver. We don't need to catch up, Oliver. We need to catch the predators.
Absolutely, we have to.
Yes.
We have to arm ourselves with the right ways to, well, really, honestly, Dale, I think the thing that most people have to remember is that when they take anything like the mushroom, it's not a physical compound that's doing anything other than it's sending a message for your body to do the job itself. Your body already has all the tools it needs to do, anti-aging, anti-cancer, to have a happy, healthy pregnancy with a strong immune system for the baby, to have a head full of hair at 55, all these things which we accept as normal wear and tear or aging.
How about a head full of hair at 65?
That's what I'm talking exactly. So this is, people will look at you and say, Daryl, you are amazing. But really, Daryl, and I mean this in the best possible way, like you're supposed to have that head of hair, right? And I'm supposed to have this head of hair, and we're supposed to be that way. And we're really, of course, things happen along the way, and of course there are many cases which have extreme situations at different points in life. But as a whole, our trigger point for all these accumulative illnesses or diseases to show themselves is just getting earlier and earlier. So on the one hand, it's hard to balance the fact that we have these mechanisms already to prevent all these sort of wear and tear damages from appearing. On the other hand, we're moving faster than ever towards a direction that makes it impossible for us to keep up. So somewhere in the middle, we have to find the most impactful things that we can really use to, I don't say rely on those things to protect ourselves, but really rely on those things to wake up our own ability to protect ourselves.
That's right. We were already gifted everything that we need. We just have
Absolutely.
to wake it up and turn it on. Just turn it
Darryl,
on.
I will share a bit more about, and I'll go into maybe a bit of science today, but I want to talk a bit about.
I want you to get into the science because you know what? I want you to dig deep here.
Okay. Um, the the thing I was just going to mention, which is that to have the healing effects work, it really takes belief, and it really takes not belief in the product or the science, but really belief in one's own healing potential inside, and that's what's being woken up. And I'll explain to you a bit about how the science works, which maybe can people can grab onto. So we're all born with very complex systems in our body, but one of the most important one is arguably the immune system. And the immune system, we in a very simplified version, we kind of categorize the way the immune system responds into two groups. There's the T1 group and the T2 group. Now it's almost like the immune system has two branches of forces. You have the normal police force, and then you have your special forces, your SWAT team and the special forces people. Now we're all born with this immune system that has the police and the special forces from birth. That's innate. But as we get older and older, these two forces become out of balance because of things like mainly inflammation. Anything that causes inflammation, whether it's stress or whether it's dietary, mainly dietary, that inflammation is going to disrupt the immune system function. What I mean by that is the balance between the police force and the special forces is not going to be in harmony. So maybe the police force starts to get a little out of check, and they maybe lose their they lose their way a bit, and the special forces becomes a bit lazy. They're never called upon. When they're called upon, they don't answer. And so this is like how our immune system, although it was given the funding for these protective systems, over time the wear and tear has just fallen off, and so their effectiveness really, it becomes less and less as we age. So this immune system function, the loss of it is really the beginning of many chronic illnesses we see, from Alzheimer's to premenopausal symptoms, I mean, to chronic illness. But it's the breakdown of this immune system,
Right.
which again, we're all born with it. And this is also why the THUNDERSHROOMZ is very good for newborn mothers or expecting mothers and young children, because at a young age, that message on how the immune system is supposed to develop itself from birth to age 3 to age 6, that's imprinted already. But it's corrupted a lot more and more with the way, I mean, think about the things that a newborn mother would feed their newborn now. If let's say a rushed for time mom who's relying on sort of like ready meals or quick fixes for foods and baby formulas and this type of things, what is the nutrients going into the baby versus 100 years ago, and how is that going to affect the genetic imprint for the immune system to be healthy at a young age? So we do see a use for THUNDERSHROOMZ at an even younger age. My niece and nephew, who are 6 and 3, 5 and 2, sorry, they've been taking for since birth, really. And it's more as a preventive, but I think just as important as the children taking it was my sister, her mother, who was taking it throughout her prior to her pregnancy and throughout, and she was probably at the higher range of the healthy baby age. So that was a great blessing, and we've seen that before with other cases where people had trouble conceiving, and they were taking the mushroom for anti-aging or for other immune purposes, and then side effect was their hormone system started to improve, and that led to conception and pregnancy. And so it really depends on each situation. But again, I keep coming back to the point that our body really is programmed to do these amazing things, from immune protection, to childbearing, and all these amazing things. And it's really that to fix that messaging, to allow it to be its most effective self, is what allows us to really heal. So whether it's with the mushroom or combined with the mushroom protocols, the idea is that we're really trying to unlock the body to heal itself. And that will, for everyone, will be different depending on their starting point. So the way that the mushroom is actually working is by addressing that immune system disruption, which comes from our diet and our stress and happens at a younger and younger age. So by attacking that T1, T2 imbalance, it brings the body
Right.
back into harmony. And when we have more harmony, we have less fire.
That's right. And it's all about the fire.
That's
and,
right.
and most people don't get that. So take a look at the rate of inflammation that you deal with, okay? And so when we say inflammation, everyone, take a look at this. How swollen are you? How much water retention do you have? How stiff are you? How much pain do you have? How much redness do you have in certain areas of the body? How much mucus do you have coming out in your bowel movements or urine or your nose or your ears or your eyes? Okay? So how much burning is in your mouth and in your eyes? Okay? What is your eyesight like? How well can you think? How sharp are you? All of this has to do with inflammation, and you know, I did yesterday a talk, and I was talking about how I don't believe there's stage 4 cancer. There's just stage 4 inflammation. There's stage 3 inflammation, stage 2, stage 1, and then you've got where you've got pain in your body. But the reality is when I feel a little bit of pain, that's my body whispering. When you feel a lot of pain, that's your body yelling at you because it did whisper, but you didn't listen, so now it's yelling. And then what happens after yelling, everyone? Your body shuts up, and now the pain goes away, but you did nothing. And that's because you crystallized, you calcified, and you got scar tissue, and it numbed that area out, and it said, you know what? If you're not going to listen, we need to take that energy and we need to help the immune system out, because all that energy of creating those symptoms for you, which were just symptoms of telling you you're out of alignment, we're not going to do anymore. And then one day you wake up and then you go in and they go, you've got a tumor the size of a cantaloupe in you. I never felt a thing. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. There's body talk. And every one of us have been stole the most important language that we'll ever learn on this planet, which is body talk. How our body talks to us, because most people think that pain and inflammation is the enemy, and it's not. It's a GPS. It's a GPS telling us that we're either in the right direction, we're in alignment with everything that's going on, we're in harmony, we're in balance, we're at ease, or we're not. We're on our way to disease, and that's it. So remember something. Just think about this, everyone. If you didn't have swelling, if you didn't have pain, if you didn't have inflammation, if you didn't have redness, if you didn't have stiffness, what the heck? You would be dead already. It's like putting your hand on the burner, okay, and just keeping it there because you have no feeling. So the reality is guess what? If we don't wake up to the fact that our body talks to us and we have been taught to run away from pain, understand something. Everybody I've noticed, you can tell me all over what you think, but people who always talk about how they're in pain are always running from pain because they don't understand that it's a friend, not a frenemy.
It's a difficult one, Daryl, because you see that usually the people who are in the most pain, they usually have to go through a bit more, and it's a very good way of putting that pain is really the most important body talk, but we're taught to ignore it, and not only taught, but I mean our medical system is institutionalized to shut it up. We have things called, you know, anti-inflammatories, and we have these painkillers. So, you know, it's a message killer. It's your body's message to you, which is being just silenced for what we think is convenience of having a pain-free existence. But that pain is going to come back somewhere much further down the line, and that body talk is really it's a blessing. And even things like healing crisis or pain when people have healing things done, that is really that's our blessing as human beings, as higher beings, to actually go through that pain and heal through that.
Well, they're healing breakthroughs. They're not crises. Okay.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
again, it's how you look at it. And the other thing is that, you know what, you won't have a healing crisis if you make sure that you have the portals open. You know, if your colon is if you got the cork out of your butt, okay, and you're cleaning your filter, which is your liver, okay, and you're connected to your breath, you're not going to have a healing crisis. We already know that. We already know that. But, you know, you'll have a healing crisis if you put something energetically into you and then you've got corks everywhere and blocks everywhere, because then you've got all this trapped energy and it's trying to blow things out. But what if we were to actually work with our body and open up all these portals so that things could happen? What if we did that?
Well, that's a very good point. And you touched on earlier about stage four inflammation, and so much of what we see as critical, or it really is just the last moment of something that's been building or it's been accumulating for a really long time. And it can be a simple inflammation that is never properly removed from the body and builds some scar tissue or something builds around that. And I will bring it back to the messaging system again here, because when we see something like an inflammation, how does a simple inflammation become something like a tumor or something, really aggressive? And the answer is still within your body's own healing mechanism. And so our body has a specific gene, and this gene's role is to go around and manage all the cells. And basically, this gene, it's called an oncogene, and its job is to monitor which cells look like they are losing their function or they're losing their ability to reproduce and survive longer. So I always think of it like a foreman in a factory. He's walking around with his paperclip, and he's looking at the workers, and he's inspecting, who's on target, who's ahead of their quota, and then, oh, hang on, have a look at Tim over there. Tim's supposed to be bringing the widget from point A to point B, but Tim's bringing the widget from point B to point K. Why is Tim doing that? And then the foreman goes over and he asks Tim, Tim, you're not supposed to be doing that. And Tim says, I just can't do my job anymore. So the foreman says, okay, you've had your fill. Thank you very much for your service. Now please go off and end yourself. That's what the cells do. That's the natural process. But
yeah, the P53 gene gets returned on. And understand, when somebody has stage 4 inflammation, the P53 gene is turned off. You reduce the inflammation, you get to turn the gene back on. If you go down, if you can bring the inflammation low enough, it comes back.
That's exactly what happens with the foreman. Is that okay? Now Tim's taken care of, but what happens if the foreman himself doesn't know how to recognize who's the broken, who's the dodgy worker? So when the P53 gene is damaged, and it can be done just from inflammation, your foreman, he's out of commission. Now, once he's not properly functioning, the workers are going to run. It's not even that they're not doing their job properly. There's just no one there to enforce the system. So that foreman, that gene, the oncogene, the P53, that's built in you. That you don't have to go and buy that anywhere, or you're born with that. It's what you do to stop it working properly. And we don't really know how badly we damage it, because we again, all the foods we eat and the things that we ingest in this day, we are the guinea pigs for this generation of food and processed stuff and fumes and paints and all kinds of things. Like we're the first generation that's figuring out how much can the human body really tolerate this stuff, and we're finding out not very well. And one of the key areas where inflammation really attacks is this P53 oncogene, and that's why we see loss of function of this gene in children, which is, it's not supposed to happen until you're much, much older in age. So this inflammation can be something seems like, oh, it's just inflammation. Have a NSAID, have a anti-inflammatory. But that can be the start of something much, much bigger. It can be the start of your very important cells, your foreman cells, losing their function, losing their ability to control the other cells.
That's right, utter chaos.
Exactly. So when the boss, when the what is it? When the cat is away, the mice will play. So we are constantly just stressing out the really important managers in our body who control a lot of functions. And to go back to the example of the special forces and the police force, your T1 and your T2 immune systems that are maybe getting a bit pudgy around the midsection, or getting a bit too abusive when they pull people over for parking tickets. Part of the reason they lose their function is because their radios are static, or their communication with their training is poor. It's the communication. And so when we see, with one thing that the mushroom does right away is it fixes that communication, and that communication comes in the form of hormones. So the chemicals that naturally occur inside the mushroom, they really help to fix the communication between the different immune system parts. And that really brings back the unity and the harmony of your immune system that might have been damaged earlier than you thought it would be. So that's we're talking. We really want to address the communication, and as Daryl mentioned before about the healing. We don't call it a healing crisis, but it's a healing breakthrough, because when we have our communication fixed, then we start sending our message, the body parts, like the right messages to do the right function, and we have the cork taken out, and we have an actual exit route for this stuff to leave. So now we've got a working radio system. We've actually got a place to get rid of all the stuff too. This is how we can really achieve healing. And if we just go for one thing, I mean, it would be useless to try and detox if you haven't opened the gateway to get the stuff out. It would be useless to expect immune rebalancing if you keep on doing the things that are causing you to have immune imbalance, like whether you're eating the same allergenic foods or you're doing the same type of toxic behavior that's causing inflammation and causing your immune system to be imbalanced. You'd have to address that as well as take the mushroom, and then together you can see the result. One thing we really struggle with a lot is when people kind of come to us and say, right, I want to just have a pill and fix my problems. And it's not, I mean, it's not as easy as that. It can be different levels of buy-in from different people, as I'm sure you know. So we often have to say that this is the enabler. This capsule will enable you to do the work that you need to do, but it's not going to do the work for you.
Absolutely.
So I think
absolutely
very important.
Let me know if you want to do this, but let's talk about your mother, Serena. Okay, now she was with a group of women, okay, that had a similar condition. I'd like you to maybe go through the story. And how many women were in her group that had the condition? That she was in a group. Was it like 6 or 9 or something? I can't.
More. I think about almost a dozen. Yeah.
A dozen. So there was a dozen. How many of those women are left? I think it's just her.
It's just her, yeah.
Yeah, it's just her. So, do you mind telling the story, or if you don't want to, you don't have to?
No, I'm. I think this is the kind of thing to celebrate because she's here and healthy. And I think I think the biggest thing to remember or to consider with cancer is that that's the cell that was told to die that didn't die. So it's a smart cell. It's a cell that wants to live forever.
It's an outsmarted cell. He outsmarted.
Yes. Yeah, it outsmarted the system. It beat the system. Yeah. And guess what? Even after the big lump is gone, they're always there. Even right now, you and me, Daryl, we have them in our body. Our immune system is going to town on them. It's searching and destroying,
but hold on. Those cancer cells that we have are keeping our immune system strong. Without those cancer cells that are floating through my body, if you said to me, well, Daryl, if you take this, you'll have no cancer cells. I say, no, leave them alone. They need to be there. They are the biggest test for my immune system to wake the heck up. You know what? I don't need a foreman falling asleep. As soon as they start to sleep, there's another one. So what? Everybody, it's normal to have cancer cells in your bloodstream at all times. Nobody never has none. And the reality is, without them, our immune system is not in check. And everybody needs to get this, okay? All right, it's everything in balance.
I think probably one of the biggest unknown risks that we face is that a lot of the treatments that are given are actually, we call them immunosuppressants. So whilst they might suppress the symptom that we think is the problem.
That's body talk. You're suppressing body talk. You're not.
Silence it all.
Okay.
Silence it all, Daryl. Push everything down. And what that does is, sure, it pushes down the symptom, it pushes down the pain, but it also pushes down that foreman's ability to do his job. It shuts the whole factory down. But who's going to not, if you shut down the whole factory, who's not going to be going away? The cockroaches, they are going to be there. So if you tell everything to shut down, including the good workers and the foreman, the rats and the cockroaches are still going to be hiding in your factory. And what's left is no one's going to be there to chase them out. Right? So you're absolutely right, Daryl. We have cancer cells right now, and they need to be there in order for our immune system to basically have training. We have all sorts of foreign things in our body.
That's G.I. Joe training, dude. That's what that is.
It's a drill sergeant who's shouting commands into
Yeah.
our body, and
Yeah.
without it, things break down. And I don't want to get too like philosophical about this, but I think we really we are born in a generation now where like pain is seen as an enemy, and it's just like whatever we do, it's just make the pain stop. And that's not just in medical. You see in all fields of everything. People are really their tolerance for pain is really small. And so that has been like indoctrinated into us that okay, as long as the pain goes down, that's good. But in our immune system, that's not good. Like that's you're cutting off the radios. So yeah. So with a bit long-winded way to say that cancer cells really don't just die. Even if the lump is gone, there's still some in. And if you take out all the foreman, all the protection, all your system, and don't forget something like chemotherapy, it's a nuclear bomb. It's like you see rebels on one side and government on the other side. How do we fix the problem? Just nuke them. Just drop a big bomb, wipe the whole thing clear. But the bad guys are not gonna. There's gonna be some hiding in a cave, or someone's gonna be hidden under somewhere, and they're gonna come back, and the government will be wiped out because they're in their government buildings. So the canny ones will outsmart. And what my point is that with cancer and with treatments, when the when the radiation has been done, when the chemotherapy bomb has been dropped, that's the beginning. That's not the end. And the thing that really pains me to see is um, the phrasing of everything. And I have the personal pain of seeing loved friends celebrate the end of their treatment and celebrate the end, what they think is the end, but it's just the beginning. And the psychology behind accepting that it's just the beginning is brutal. It's so difficult for people to understand, so that it's very hard to really get someone who's been through hell and back with chemo and
Well, they
radiation
just had their immune system knocked out, which means they had their energy knocked down. And now you're going to tell them after the chemo, after the radiation, now you've got to go build back up. But you don't just have to build back up your immune system. You've got to actually cleanse out the radiation and chemo, because we know that within 3 to 5 years it will whip back in your face and it'll take your head right off.
And I mean, not only it comes back in your face, but your guards have been taken out. They've been disabled. They've been neutered by the chemo. And what we also see a lot, and okay, I'll move off cancer soon, I promise. But what we see a lot of is people immediately resume their lifestyle that got them to that situation in the first place. But this time around, they don't even have their damaged immune system protecting them. Now it's been wiped out. So now they return to the first toxic lifestyle that got them to this state.
That's right. They return to the same lifestyle that exactly built what they got. And so on an emotional, physical, nutritional level, nothing changes. So if you don't change parts of your personality, part of your habits, the way you do things, what you do, then you're going to be you just get the same thing. You get what you get, and that's it. If you don't change, nothing changes. Can you admit, Harry, please? Okay.
And so nothing changes. But what's
one
changed
second.
is,
So if you want to come on Zoom, you can, everyone, okay? Just know this. And if you've got questions for Oliver or me, you can put them on live chat on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. And if you want, you can call me on my phone at 250-801-5893 on WhatsApp, or 855-900-4544 extension 5. And the phone will ring and we'll be able to listen to you with your question, all right? All right. Oliver, go ahead, my friend.
yeah, so I'll just finish up there, which is that
No,
you
don't
know,
rush, don't rush, don't rush.
okay, well, on that topic, which is that although people who return to that same lifestyle that got them to the first place, they're returning without an immune system. They've just bombed their immune system. They're going to go straight back into their night shift or to their dirty eating habits, but they've just killed their entire immune system. So not only are they repoisoning, they're repoisoning without the protection that barely saved them the first time around. So that's why relapse is so I don't want to say preventable because it's never easy. It's always easier after the fact to say, but the way that we phrase the healing stages, and to bring back to the group that my mom was a part of, is that um, it's hard to say how many of them really accepted that the healing journey was just beginning at the end of the treatments after 18 months of horrible treatments and really poor quality of life. I mean, it's very hard to accept that now I have to commit to 1 to 3 to 5 years of rebuilding my immune system, especially at an older age. So when we met Dr. Frank in Thailand, he said to Serena, to my mom, he said, listen, if you want to trust my experience, and he's been in this for 20 years, he's seen hundreds, he's seen many, many no hope cases. He's seen cases that people were told you've got weeks, you've got months, and they're still coming to him years later. So he said to Serena, he said to my mom, if you trust our case precedent, and we know that in your age group, with what you've been through, she had 33 radiations. She's a small lady, 33 radiation blasts and 18 chemotherapy sessions. So that's, on a 50-kilogram lady is a lot. So he said, based on your treatments and your blood cell counts, which were, very, very low, white blood cell, red blood cell, for months after her treatments finished, based on our experience, you should take this amount for
Right.
how long, and you need to, clean up your diet and all these other things.
What
which
was the
together,
amount? Do you mind me asking what the amount was that she took?
She took around six, I want to say six to, I think at the very beginning, she took 10 to 12 bottles a month of the critical, of something similar to the critical.
And there's 60 in there, so that would be
Yeah.
600 a month. So 30
Yeah,
into that would be 20 a day, right?
yes, yeah, and that's right when he
20 of
said,
those a
listen,
day. So understand something. So that was costly, but
yes, at the time, but the alternative was there wasn't one, and we it wasn't easy, of course. No one plans to have that type of thing happen, and therefore, I've just happened to have saved up exactly. No one's ready for this type of thing.
of course not. You know
And
what? Nobody's ready for it. Guess what? Nobody knows health. And then when somebody gets something like stage 4 inflammation, I don't want to call it the C thing anymore. I'm done with that. But they get stage 4 inflammation. Everybody runs for the hills. And what do they run with the hills? Go to the doctor. Do this right away, because nobody can process a death sentence. How do you process a death sentence? And you don't want anybody to die, and then you freak out, you panic, okay?
it in the end, yeah, we committed to, I think, a year on the really high dose, and then lowered the dose after that, and it was almost like within the same day, and she improved 20-30%.
The
Within a
same
week,
day
she was up,
of doing 20 a day.
and within 5 days she had probably recovered like 80%. So I mean, we're going from 6 months.
So
to see
now
her
we're
go
getting rid of the negative symptoms, okay, because the immune
Yes.
system is getting back in check, into alignment. But guess what? I'm going to tell you something, everyone. Don't be doing any celebrations yet, because it takes a year to reformulate an immune system after somebody's had stage 4 inflammation like that.
Yes, and I mean, that's where it can be challenging to really
Wrap your head
help people
around it.
understand. Yeah, and people think that I can see results in a month. I can see 10 days, maybe I can feel better. When you go from 100 to level 10, down to 10%, like she was after the treatments, and you're staying at a level 10 for 6 months with very little improvement, when you bump up to a level 30, you feel it. That's that's a relative huge change. And so even to only be at level 30 compared to level 10 is amazing. And so whilst it might take a year or 2 or 3 years to get all the way back up to level 80 or 90, you have to compare that with the alternative of staying at level 10 for I don't know how long, because we tried we tried like bee venom. We tried we went down the path. We called a lot of different healers, and we, of course, before we met you, and we tried lots of modalities and spent a lot of time and a lot of money traveling around trying stuff, really just to almost know. We had intravenous shots of all these, vitamin C, glutathione, all the more holistic treatments, complementary stuff, which at that stage of her age, having done so many treatments, were just not having any effect. So the relative impact for her was fast, but it doesn't mean that the case, the total healing journey is any shorter. It just means that you get some benefit right away. But for the body, like you said, to reboot, it's
Well,
healthy.
if
It
she can
takes
feel
time.
30% better in the first day of doing it, and then after 5 days, 80% better in her symptoms, guess what? The whole family gets a sigh of relief, and then nobody else in the family gets stage 4 inflammation,
Yes.
because somebody's going to have a heart attack, fart attack, or diabetes, or a stroke.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, whenever somebody has cancer in the family, there's always 1 or 2 people within 2 years in the family that have some other autoimmune disease because of compassion.
Daryl, I've seen quite a few now families and everyone affected by these situations, and I would say that in my family we're lucky that we kind of pulled together and we just said, right, this is what it is. It's how we're going to deal with it. This is the best thing we know to do, and that's we were all on board, and I'm sure that that was a very big part of for all of us to do it together,
Well,
and
the
we all
reality is, if you're not an optimistic family, then you've already buried yourself. So the reality is this: is when your beliefs are limited, so is your life.
that's it's sad to say that I've seen that to be the case. And in I wouldn't say all the people that I've seen in very desperate situations didn't have that belief, but it is common to see that acceptance is in many ways it's strong. It doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be there until we have everything in our body to keep making new life.
Yeah, like, first thing is keep a smile on your face, connect to your breath, get your shoulders back, your chin up, and go, we got this.
So when Dr. Frank said, it's going to take a while if you trust my experience and what we've seen, the people we saw, she can do this. You got this. You can, he was so calm, he was so confident, and he was so matter of fact, like, oh, no problem. If you try, I've seen many, and I've seen way worse. I don't want to say worse or better, but more serious cases, more low probability cases. And even in her peer group, to bring back to your first question, why we started this whole topic, which was that, none of her group made it past, the 2 year mark. I think the last one passed after 3 years. So it fit within the statistics, which is really sad, because we know that 1 to 3 year window is really high risk because of the immune system is almost gone, but the cancer cells are still running around. So yeah, it's sad to see that. So we have to be realistic that things take time, and even let's move off of cancer for a bit, if you will, for people who have things like psoriasis, or they have the white
So there
skin
you
marks,
go. If
which
you've got psoriasis, which is a fungal problem, go eat some fungus.
that's actually, it sounds weird, but it's true. Your body has lost its ability to manage fungus because it forgot what fungus is like. So if you
Yes.
put a friendly fungus, a frenemy in there, your body can learn to better deal with dangerous fungus or foreign fungus.
Right.
I had a shellfish allergy when I moved to Thailand, and I wasn't even taking the Thundershroom. Over here they make it into a coffee, so they put one capsule with some Thai coffee and a non-dairy creamer, and they make it into a tea for the staff, a coffee for the staff. I was drinking it every day, like 3 or 4 cups. So it was about 3 or 4 capsules of the Vital Life equivalent. And after 3 weeks, we went for a dinner, and Dr. Frank, he ordered lobster, and I said, no, I can't eat. I'm, allergic to shellfish. He said, no, just you've been here for a month. You've been drinking the coffee. Try it. And I did, and I was like, "Whoa, I can eat it. I'm not getting itchy." And so
Yeah.
it's again, I said, "How did that work?" He said, "Look, your body was able to do that. You just were it wasn't able to do its proper function, and the mushroom just helped change the message. So my body was able to do that. So yeah, it takes time, but we also see results before we expect them to. So, with my food allergen, I didn't expect to have a result after a month, but it happened. And I had people taking it for chronic illness, and they got pregnant, as a side effect. So it's your body's returning to its optimal state that the mushroom brings about. So how long that takes is a completely individual. If someone goes into a financial advisor and asks, what should I invest? Everyone is different. Like everyone has a different starting point or has a different budget, how much time they want to spend on the learning about these modalities. And not everyone has time to do a coffee enema, but maybe they can drink a detox tea, for example, right? So everyone needs to assess their own situation. Probably talk with your staff, because I know your staff are really good at guiding people through like the most impactful areas they can get benefit from your product range and your services. So I think assess that, and then it would be a better way to have an idea of what your condition is, how long you'd expect it to take.
Beautiful. Very good. Carolyn says, THUNDERSHROOMZ, they sound powerful. Henry, how do we gauge how many to take and for how long for conditions? Well, it depends on your condition, right?
Yep. And I think, Daryl, is there a section in the ebook or in the next ebook where there's a bit of a guideline for?
Yeah, there is on the website. Yeah,
on the website. Okay.
On the website. So if they go to if you go to Doc of Detox store.docofdetox.com, then just type in THUNDERSHROOMZ in the questionnaire. It'll come up.
Yeah, and because how like for example, clapping is like one of the most universally, got a problem over here, clap it, got a problem over there, clap it, right? And why can you just put a silly piece of plastic and say you can help everywhere? It's because it's not the plastic, it's the circulation. Your body's circulation is amazing. It's supposed to run 1,000 little capillaries deep and get all the nutrients to the broken parts of your body that need it. Yeah. And the road system is broken, and the clapping helps to fix the potholes.
Roadblocks. So it gets rid of the blocks.
Exactly.
Everything.
Except the gridlock.
A tumor's a block. Adhesions are a block. A cyst is a block. A pimple's a block. A boil's a block. Okay. The calcification in your joint, it's a block. The gallstone, the kidney stone is a block. The calcium deposit in your breast is a block. So it's all about blocks, and it's issues in the tissues, and you've got to move them out.
That's right, and I think when you have your body's, the same way clapping helps the blocks to go out, your immune system will really just start to have all sorts of beneficial effects beyond what you were probably intending to do with the mushroom. So I would say for most people, check if it's not on the website yet, we'll make sure it's on there. And
they can call me. They can call me on extension 5, or they can call my WhatsApp number at 250-801-5893. Just know that we will help you.
Okay, and just remember, this is a guide, and we see almost a 90% variance between how different people react to common medicines. So what we might think is a good estimate, maybe you have other issues or you have different issues, so it's just a guideline. But for most people, they will. Your
personality is going to drive your dosage. Just know that, everybody. Your personality drives your dosage. Okay, all right. If you're an anxiety kitten, guess what? Okay, if you're just a little excitable, guess what? If you actually know how to find peace in the midst of chaos, you spend less money. That's it.
Yes, and I mean the recommended sort of daily dose guideline would be 2 capsules. Like for me, I will take 2 capsules of the Vital Life pretty much forever. I mean, I don't take them every day. Sometimes I forget, and it's not a big deal because, as you said, Daryl, I aim to not be anxious about these sort of things. I feel like if I stress about the fact that I missed my FibroClear, it's probably going to be worse than if I actually had the FibroClear with a stressful mind. So, I think your mind, your state of mind, and what you're also doing in other parts of your life is really going to drive the appropriate dose for you. And obviously, what is your toxic input, what do you hope to accomplish, and how soon you hope to accomplish it. One thing I want to just mention is that um, more critical issues can benefit from front loading a higher dose. So let's say you had a budget for like 12 bottles in the next year. Some cases, like say ones with physical symptoms like eczema or psoriasis, they could benefit from having, instead of, if you're having like 12 bottles over the next month, you actually take 6 of those in the first 3 months. So you're doubling up, or you're taking more than, instead of spacing it out evenly, you're front loading your dose so that your body's getting a higher impact early on. But it doesn't mean you take 12 bottles in the first month and it's done, because your body actually takes time.
Yeah.
You can front load to speed up, to kickstart the thing, but it takes time. And
20-foot ladder, 20-foot hole needs a 20-foot
ladder.
ladder. A 10-foot hole needs a 10-foot ladder. And as you start climbing out of the hole, the ladder gets shorter.
It does. And I think with the ladder, I was really overweight a long time. I mean, I was like double the weight I am now. And, it turned out that most of it was really due to blockages. And the thing I just want to say is that, like, when you're climbing out of the ladder, like, you just need to keep going. So even if you fall down, you can fall down, you've got a 20-foot ladder, your hole is 20 feet, and you've made it 10 feet up the way, and you slip down, you fall 8 feet down, but you're still on the ladder. Like, you just need to stay on the ladder, make sure the ladder's the right size. Keep going. Like, that's all. It's so easy to get discouraged, or to have
Never give up on
our,
yourself.
And exactly, we give up.
No. Lisbeth says, so is it okay to, this goes to what you were saying, so is it okay to do a high dose for your first dose after chemo treatment? What would you suggest of the THUNDERSHROOMZ?
Yes, I would recommend the critical. And
critical
if
care.
You're still the critical care,
Mm-hmm.
Depending on your condition, and also if you're still going for chemo, you can take as much as you can on those days, and the day before and the day after, because the blast of inflammation that chemo brings to you is severe. And so even we've seen, taking 4 to 8 capsules, probably at the lower end, of helping to reduce the inflammatory side effects such as nausea, vomiting, all the physical stuff that comes after chemo is due to the inflammation, which is your body's way of responding to just a nuclear bomb being dropped on it. So taking them actually during chemo can help to reduce the side effects.
And if I can, what was I going to, oh geez, it just slipped me. And if I can say something, and this is the truth, everyone. They tell you not to take antioxidants when you're doing chemo or radiation. There is absolutely no proof because that doesn't do anything. It doesn't stop their work. Understand something. These two things that they do, nothing can stop what they do. All you're doing is, if you take these other things, is the side effects will not be so devastating to you. Like, would you like to keep your hair? Is that important? Would you like to get through this with your hair? Would you like to get through this with not having skin that looks like an alligator? Would you like to get through this where you can actually walk up 5 stairs without being out of breath? Don't worry, the chemo, the radiation is going to do what it does, because nothing can stop that stuff. But the reality is what do you want to have left over when the war is done? Because guess what? That's what you say, don't you? Let's go in and fight this cancer for everything we got. And I'll tell you something, we have nothing to do with that. I will not fight cancer, and I will not fight anybody else. I will love my body well, and that's it. Let's choose to be happy, okay? Let's choose to be happy, and let's choose to be healthy. How do we gauge, this is from Henry, how do we gauge how many to take and for how long for conditions? Is there a way to get reassurance this is going to make significant improvements before making the commitment? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. You can go to the website and take a look at the information. But the reality is this. It's just like our ionic calcium therapy. It's expensive. Thousands of people have done it. The reality is you're just going to have some faith. I don't know. What do you think, Oliver?
Yeah, it's a tough one, Henry. I understand where he's coming from, because obviously my family, we were in this position with my mom, right? And Yes, you're right. There comes a point where, and whether this is in health or in any profession, really, there's a moment where we don't know the outcome, right? Where if you're a business owner, you invest in something, you don't know exactly how that's going to play out. If you buy a house, you don't exactly know the final outcome, how that's going to be. Just sort of prepare yourself with the best possible tools, and you know that with those tools, this outcome